everybody, and welcome to the Narca Network. I'm Dean, the host of the Narca Network and channel, and also the host of the Unmasking the Narcissist channel. Today I'm going to be presenting to you episode 223, and episode 223 is titled The Narcissist Has Trust Issues. So, we have talked a little bit about this in a former episode on the channel, and why the narcissist actually has trust issues. Why this is the case, because some people will say, you know, like, why would the narcissist have trust issues or whatever, when it's actually them that causes everybody else around them, their victims and everybody else, to not trust them. Well, if we know anything about the narcissist and the history of how the narcissist came to be, which we've addressed on the channel a number of times before, the narcissist has trust issues because they themselves were put through some type of traumatic events in their past lives. They've been abused, they've been neglected, they've had some things go on, or perhaps their psyche during the time that they were going through their formative years has been affected in some other ways. These ways can be not only thrust upon them through behaviors and activity that goes on around them with individuals that they deal with, but it can also come from physical factors. We now know through a lot of brain research that's being done at different world universities at the moment. This would be brain mapping research and stuff, that narcissists also develop because of physical brain trauma, because of the brain not forming properly when they were in their years from a baby to adolescence. This can cause the brain, certain things affecting that child can cause the brain to malform. It can be outside things, it could be physical things genetically that can cause the brain to malform. We now know, of course, that narcissists can be made by behavior that's around them. If a young person has narcissistic parents, those narcissistic parents can in turn put their narcissism on that child and cause that child to become a narcissist as well too. But also, if your family has the genetics of narcissism within the genetic makeup, and there are several factors that can contribute to this. We've talked about this on the channel before, what the genetic factors are. If you want to know what they are, you can go look this up in some other prior videos that I've done. But the genetics of the mother and father and of the grandmother and grandfather, they get passed down through the child, and the child can be affected by these genetic markers as well too. And the genetic markers sometimes contain the markers of a person who has some type of brain affected disorder, and that can lead to that child becoming a narcissist as well too. It can also lead to that child having a whole array of other behavioral problems as well too, and one of those behavioral problems can also be how they deal with other people and how they effectively learn to trust other individuals in their life. And all these things can affect whether or not a child becomes a narcissist, or whether or not they have any other type of personality disorder as well too. But we know that all these factors, be it physical, be it an outside effect from some behavior of an individual around that child, whatever that young person is dealing with, as far as all those factors, can affect how they grow up and whether or not they develop trust issues. Of course, if a younger child is dealing with parents that are abusive or neglectful, they may develop trust issues of this nature as well too. But as we also know with younger children too, it doesn't even necessarily have to be a really negative form of abuse, like physical abuse or emotional abuse or something of this nature. Sometimes the simple factor that develops a trust issue in a child is if you have a parent or parents or grandparents who are very giving in a way to that child. Let's say this is a child that, like, they give a lot of things to this child. They buy them a lot of presents. They give them a lot of affection. A good example of this is when you're dealing with a child and a parent who has really good intentions with a child, so they're very giving with them. They will buy them things and do stuff of this nature. But one of the ways this will affect the child negatively is if you have a parent who has really good intentions of this nature and says, oh, you know what, Timmy, on Saturday we're going to take you to the movies and we're going to go see something that you want to go see, a kid's film or whatever, and the child is excited about that. But when Saturday comes, the mom or dad go, oh, we can't actually go to the movies, Timmy, we have to go and do something else because we have to go visit grandma or whatever, and they don't take the child. If you do behavior like this to a child repeatedly over time, where you promise them something and then don't follow through, that can actually affect a child and affect their trust issues with you as well too. Now, are you doing something purposefully damaging to that child on purpose? No, because you could be making a promise to do something with them and then having to do something else because something more important comes up or family related things come up, and you have to change plans or whatever, and you perhaps may not follow through right away with that promise you made to that child, or perhaps you don't follow through with the promise at all. Even very benign sort of behavior like that can affect the child in as far as their trust towards you and what it is they're going to do with you, as far as the way they look at you and the way how they absorb whether or not they can trust you based on what you do. So it doesn't have to be severe things. It doesn't have to be abuse. It doesn't have to be neglect. It can be just not sticking to your promises or things of this nature. This can form trust issues. And if that child, for instance, has any genetic markers for narcissism from even a grandparent or whatever, and it skips a generation with the mother and father now, but it goes into that child, and that child has those markers, when they get exposed to things of this nature, behavior of this nature, where they're promised something and then it doesn't happen, and then the parents don't follow through, this can cause trust issues. So when it comes to trust issues with narcissists, there's a great many things that can form them being distrustful to other individuals in very severe ways. When they are being exposed like this to things that cause this within the child, these issues can also, again, they can form the child into being a narcissist. They can form the child into just simply being distrustful of people around them, distrustful of the parents, distrustful of people in general. Then if you combine this with, like serious abuse that may go on with some children, because as we know, sadly, this does happen with children. Children do get abused. They get sometimes in situations that are absolutely awful, and that we almost can't understand why anybody would do that with their children. But this does happen to some young people, and this causes them to be mistrustful of people around them. And it's these trust factors that get interbred into the narcissist's brain function that causes themselves to mistrust people later in life, and then to also propagate that upon their narcissistic victims. It's a thing that, if you don't really pay attention to it, we do have to all really pay attention to the way we do things of this nature with our children and with other people around when we're raising children, so that we don't have them mistrust us in those particular ways. It's very important that we pay attention to these things when we're parents and when we're grandparents and stuff, and that we make sure that we don't impose anything detrimental upon our children in those ways too. This is hard to say when you have parents themselves who are not great parents. They don't function well. They're not great at raising children. They're abusive. They're neglectful. all those things that confine parenting of that nature absolutely cause this type of things in young children, these types of trust issues in young children, and then affect that child to have trust issues later on in life that they thrust upon other people and that other people have to deal with. It can be a very cascading effect as we grow up if you're exposed to behaviors of this nature, and it can affect you as an adult in ways that can cause you to have serious social problems with people around you, social problems with family, social problems with love interests, but it also can cause, in more severe instances, a person to become a narcissist. And these are some of the very awful effects of things that some children and some young people and some young adults are exposed to when they're growing up. And these are the things that form narcissism and form people to be narcissists and form them to mistrust people in such intense ways. So this is just something I wanted to talk about quickly here in episode 223. Please stay tuned. I got lots of content coming up on the Narcan Network, and I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll catch you really soon with some other upcoming videos.